Okay, so the 36 problem in the lead code is to find out if the given Sudoku board is valid or not. Okay, so here will be given a 2D array which will actually ideally which will map to the Sudoku board. Okay, and we'll have to find out if the board is valid or not. How do we find, right? There are basically three rows, three condition for it. So let's pick any number. Okay, let's pick number 9. Okay, let's pick a number 9. So the condition are, let's say that the control, it should not, there should not be any duplicates. I mean the 9 should not exist twice in the same row. Okay, 9 doesn't exist anywhere. And also in the column also there should not be any duplicates. Okay, 9 doesn't exist in the column also, like I mean it appeared only once. And also even in the sub box it should not appear twice, right? 9 has appeared only once, so till now this is good, right? Like I mean this is a valid condition, correct? Like I mean, so it doesn't repeat in the row, it doesn't repeat in the column, it doesn't repeat in the sub box, so this is a valid. So we'll go to the next number and we'll do the same thing. Okay, these are the three conditions to check if the Sudoku is a valid or not. Okay, now coming to the approach, right? It can be approached by the two ways. One is we can go by a brute force, such that we can check pick an element and we'll check the if it exists, iterate through this and check if there are any element exist or not, like with the 7. Similarly do for the row, similarly do for the column, similarly do for the sub box, right? We can do these three things, and we can identify. Okay, initially I did the brute force, and other solution is submitted, but it was not that efficient. Okay, right? So what we can do now is, so basically this was the implementation. We'll be checking the row, checking the column, checking the sub boxes, and here we have an iteration. We do the iteration and check if there are any duplicates or not. Okay, this was a brute force approach, and this is another way to use the hashable sets. Okay, like I mean we can use that to like I mean to improvise the code. Okay, so what we can do is, instead of iterating through again and again, right? Let's say that I entered 9, right? Let's say that I'm checking for this 9. Okay, and once I came here, I will add it to one mapping. Okay, I will add a mapping for this column saying that 1 0 1 2 3 fifth column maybe, right? In the fifth column I will encounter 9 for the first time. I will add to that to mapping. Okay, whenever I come by next time, let's say that I'm checking for let's say there is a number 9 here. Okay, let's assume that let's go here. Okay, so let's assume we have a number 9 here. Okay, in that case what will happen, I already had a mapping for this 9 here to this column, but it came again, right? If it comes again, it means that it's invalid. So in that case, what we'll do is we'll just return it as a false. Okay. So now the implementation is we'll be maintaining a mapping for each row, each column, and each sub boxes. Okay. How does it look? The mapping looks like. Let's say we'll talk for a row. Okay. For a row, what we'll do is for each row, like I mean nothing but a zeroth row, right? We can say it as just a zero, right? For a zeroth row, what we'll be doing is, what are the elements that are present for first row, what are the elements that are present. Okay, we'll be doing it, and we don't be doing it in the initial itself. As we keep on progressing, right, we will keep on adding it. Let's say I'm doing the calculation for a 5, I will add a 5 to 5 for now, and next I will go to the 3, I will add a 3 for here. And if I go to 6, I should be updating it to the second row, like I mean that means one row, right? I will be updating like this. Okay, similarly whenever I do the iteration for any element, I will be updating the row mapping, column mapping, and also the box mapping. Okay, we'll come to the box. Okay, so this is how the mapping works. Okay, row will be mapped, column will be mapped. So whenever I come here, I will check if it is already there in this row, right? If it is already is there in the zeroth row or not. If it is there, I will be returning the false, or else we'll be keep on going. Okay, so now we know how to do the mapping for rows and columns, right? That was straightforward. Zeroth row, first row, second row. Now how to go about the sub boxes? Okay, if you just see the sub boxes, right? Sub boxes is 0 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8, correct? So ultimately this is also a 2D array, right? So this is also a 2D array. This can be represented by 0 comma 0 0 comma 1 0 comma 2 1 comma 0 1 comma 1 1 comma 2. Similarly we'll be ending at 2 comma 2 0 1 2, right? 2 comma 2, right? Correct. So we'll be ending at there, correct? So we can map the sub box in that. And also, as we know, in the dictionary we can map a constant, right? We can also actually map a we can map tuples, correct? We can, here it was straightforward, we will be mapping it to 0 to some arrays. But for sub boxes, how it will look is, how the mapping should look is 0 comma 0 will map to some set of numbers, whatever the element that is there, right, it will be added to this. And next 0 comma 1, 0 comma 1, whatever the element that is present here, right, it will be added to this. Okay, so this is how the mapping looks. Now we are clear about mapping. Row wise we'll be mapping like this, column also the same, and for sub boxes the mapping would look like this. Okay, so now how to get these indexes, right? So like wherever we iterate through, we know, like when we iterate, we know the 0 comma 0, whatever the index of this element, correct, so that we can directly update our row mapping and column mapping. But to get this mapping, it's kind of different logic here, correct? So let's say that I am somewhere here 8. Okay, I need to get the, I need to identify which sub box I belong to and what is the index of it. And once I know the index of it, I can the tuple base basically, so I can update that mapping here. So next time when I come here, I will be checking the same mapping if the element exists in the same sub box or not. Okay, so now how to identify that how to identify like which is the which is the index or which is the sub box. Okay, so now let's take an example of 8 only. Okay, if we take an 8, it means that this is the one, right, 4 comma 3. And we know that these numbers are split across three numbers, right? This is 3 number 3 3, right? We are split across 3 by 3. So what we'll do is we'll divide the number by 3, so that we'll know, right, on what is the index of it. Let's say that if I divide the 4, 3 would go here, 1 would come here, correct? Actually it's a 5, correct? Basically ideally this is a 5. So once we divide it by 3, we'll know in which part of the whole range. This is the whole range. And if I divide by that, we divide that element and know the quotient, I know in which index it will fall on, correct? 0 comma 2. Similarly here it will be like 0, 1 and 2, correct? So what is the logic now here is I want to identify the what is the mapping for this sub box. Okay, I will divide this by 3, both x and y. I will get the quotient of it. What is the 4 divided by 3 is, what will be the quotient? 1, correct? What will be the quotient for this? Also 1. And we know from this is the mapping is 1 comma 1 only, right? 0 comma 0, 0 comma 1, and 0 comma 2, 1 comma 0, 1 comma 1. This is the mapping for that sub box. Okay, similarly if you pick anything, right, let's pick 3 comma 6 this time. Okay, and what would be the answer? Ideally 1 comma 2 will be the answer that we are need to get, and we'll add on for a mapping. So let's try 3 comma 6, right? Nothing but quotient will be 1 comma 2. If you take anything else, let's take uh, 6 comma, no, let's take 7 comma 8, right? So that we'll get some reminder also. 7 comma 8, if we divide it, the quotient will be 2, remainder will be 1, will be ignoring it, and again 8, right, the quotient will be 2. So 2 comma 2, that is the mapping for this in the 2D array. Okay, so now we know how this mapping works, right? Row we will map it like this, column also will map it like that only, like using the indexes, and for the sub boxes we'll be doing the mapping like this. Okay, now let's look at the code. So code looks simple actually. So code is simple. So row, we have defined the default instead of like go, if you use a normal dictionary, right, what we'll have to do is we'll have to specify everything. Like let's say that when I'm initializing, right, I need to handle if it is there, if it is not there, all those things we'll have to do. Instead we can go with the default it. Okay, we can default it, and we'll set the default as set. We can use a list also, but when we are checking any element, if it exists in the set, right, that will be little faster compared to the list. Okay, so we'll set the default values as a set here. Okay, so it means that rows of 0, let's say that I'm trying to look for an element for rows of 0 or a 0th row, and if I try to check, right, and but if it doesn't exist, it will give an empty set here. Okay, that is the use case of using the default dictionary instead of using the normal dictionary. Okay, so that will make our task easier. So now we have the empty mappings. Okay, and now when we iterate through, right, we'll be here in the beginning. Okay, and if we encounter any dots, like I mean here it is blank is denoted as a dot. If it is a dot, we don't have to do any calculation, we'll ignore it. Okay, and we'll check now, we'll check if it exists in the 0th row. Okay, 0th row if it exists, because as that will be the first element, it won't be there, and we'll be adding it here. Okay, and it's an or condition, right? We'll be doing it again and again until we get the true, right? Until any of these conditions satisfies. So we'll check the same thing in the column if it exists, column mapping if it, and lately we'll be checking the sub box as we just discussed, right? If we divided by 3 and get the quotient, we'll be getting that mapping. right? For example, if it is a 0 comma 0, the obviously the answer will be, the quotient will be 0 0, right? So we'll be getting that, we'll be adding the, we'll be checking that this, if it exists in the 0 comma 0 sub box or not. Okay, so it doesn't exist for the first time, so we'll be returning false. And once we read this element, we'll be also updating the mappings, row mapping, column mapping, and also the sub box mapping. We know that we can add a tuple in as a key, so we have added it and using it for mapping. Okay, similarly, when we come again, we'll be checking if let's say that we will come to the 3, right? We'll check if the 3 was there in the row mapping or not, if it is the, if it was there or not in the second column or not. Okay, we'll do the same calculation until if there is any wrong, right? Let's say that if we try to let's say if there is again 3 here, when we do for the in the next iteration, it will identify that in the zeroth row there is an already element 3. Okay, in that case return false. So that's how it will work. Okay, that is it. Yeah, thank you.